What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. Let's take a look at TCU versus Michigan, 5 reasons why each team will win. Yesterday, I did a video on Georgia and Ohio State. If you missed that one, go back and check it out. But we're going to look at the keys to this game. And again, if TCU wins this game, these are the 5 reasons why they will win. If Michigan wins, these are the 5 reasons why they will win. And we'll start with the Horned Frogs. So I think that the biggest thing is Max Duggan. If TCU wins this game, it's going to be because of Max Duggan. He is going to have to go out there and just play an A+ game. He's going to have, probably the best game of his career for them to win this, or at least one of the best. We saw it against Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. He put this team on his shoulders late in that game. Just such a gutsy performance. He's going to have to probably do something similar. You really saw towards the end of that game when he used his legs. Boy, it made this offense tough to stop. But through the air, he's been phenomenal this year. Over 3,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, takes care of the football. And like I said, he can run the ball when he needs to. I wouldn't call him a run-first guy, but he's definitely a guy that can get some yards when he needs to, and we have seen that throughout his career, really. This year had 404 yards rushing, and you take off the sacks. I don't know how many yards that comes out to without the sacks on there. But again, he's going to be the reason why they win if they do win. He'll have to play big. He'll have to make big throws. He'll have to make big conversions on third downs, throwing the football, running the football, doing those types of things. He is the key for TCU. And he's going to have to do it. He's going to have to do it if they're going to win this game. Number 2, it's not just Max Duggan. It's the guys he's throwing the football to. They have speed and they have size at that wide receiver position. Going to be a really interesting matchup there with these TCU wide receivers and the Michigan secondary. You've got the size coming from Quentin Johnston and Savion Williams, 2 guys that, they're a mismatch. They just are. Quentin Johnston had over 900 yards receiving this year. Savion Williams, 392 yards through the air, 5 and 4 touchdowns respectively. Those are the guys with the size, and they're a mismatch. And then you have the speed from Darius Davis and Tay Barber, 2 guys that have electrifying speed and can really make big plays, even on the short catches. If you miss a tackle, they can be gone. So those 4 guys at wide receiver, and then you got some tight ends in there as well, some other guys. This passing attack is really, really good, and they make a lot of big plays. They go down the field and make a lot of big plays, and if they can make some of those big plays against Michigan, they're going to have a chance in this game. Go back to Ohio State. Remember in the first half, they were making some big plays in that game, and in the second half, they had opportunities, but they missed some opportunities. TCU, a second half team all year, just like Michigan. Really interesting to see what happens in that second half, because I think it'll be close in the first half, but we'll really find out about these teams again in the second half. The strength for each team is playing in that second half. Number 3, balanced offense. So we've been talking about Max Duggan. We're talking about these receivers. They're all great, but TCU can run the football. They have been really solid running the football this year, and it's mostly been Kendre Miller. 1,342 yards rushing this season, 17 touchdowns. Another guy that can make plays out of the backfield as well. He's got 16 catches. This is a guy that has been really big for them. DeMarcado also has had an impact for them on the ground, 5.2 yards per carry. If I didn't say that, Miller, 6.2 yards per carry, so he makes a lot of big plays. And so they've got it all. They've got a dual threat quarterback, a guy that can run it, a guy that can throw it. They've got big play receivers. They've got size. They've got speed at receiver. And then they've got a good running game as well. So this TCU offense is very tough to stop. Michigan, very good on defense, but these guys for the TCU offense, they're going to be the difference. If they can win this game, they're going to have to score points. I don't think the TCU defense is really going to win this game for them. It's going to be about the offense, and if they can score 30-plus points, they'll have a chance in this one. We'll see if they're able to do that. All right, number 4, how about special teams? Special teams, really big for this one, potentially. Michigan has a good special teams as well, but I think there's a slight advantage for TCU. You look at what they've done this year. They've had 2 punt return touchdowns. If they can pull off one of those, that'll be huge. Michigan is actually 72nd in the country in punt return defense. They have given up a touchdown this year, so if TCU can make a big play in the punt return game, maybe not even a touchdown, but just a couple of big returns, that could be huge in this one. And their kicker, he's 16 of 18. We saw the clutch kick earlier in the year. to win that game against Baylor. So they've got a lot going for them on special teams. And if they can make a big play, get a big punt return, if it comes down to a kick, I really like TCU in the special teams game. But like I said, Michigan is really good on special teams as well. They've got a great kicker. They've had one punt return for a touchdown this year. So it's not a huge advantage, but it's something that TCU probably going to have to win this game. And turnovers obviously would be big as well. Really, if you look at the team statistically this season, not really a big advantage for one team over the other when it comes to turnovers. So I didn't include that in the video. But if TCU can force some turnovers, then that'll be big for them as well. Some special teams play, some turnovers, that'll give them a real shot to win this one. How about number 5? So no pressure. So it's kind of psychologically, it's very similar to Ohio State and Michigan, whereas Michigan's the team that has some experience from what they did last year, and TCU comes in with no pressure. I think TCU has even less pressure than Ohio State. I mean, there's really no pressure on this team. This is a team that had no preseason expectations. No one expected them to be anywhere near the playoff this year. And so they can go out there and just play loose, have fun, whatever happens, happens. But it's already been a great season for them. They have accomplished a lot. Getting to the playoff again, just a huge surprise. So I don't think there's really any pressure on TCU in this game. And if Michigan comes out tight, if things don't go their way early, maybe the pressure starts to build for Michigan, and TCU can just go out there and play loose. And that could be a difference in this one. I think people don't talk enough about the psychological aspects of these games. But I definitely think TCU, with the no pressure, that'll be a big reason why they're able to win this game, is if they can go out there and just play their game, not play tight, just play loose, have fun, and make some big plays on offense, then they'll have a chance to pull off the upset over Michigan. All right, let's look at 5 reasons why Michigan will beat TCU. You look at the stats for these two teams, and everything pretty much goes in Michigan's favor. And I'll read off some of those stats because some of them are included in these reasons. But we'll give you 5 reasons here why Michigan will beat TCU. And we start with the offensive line. I mean, that is the most underrated part of this team. Some people give them credit. A lot of people just kind of look over it. This is a really good offensive line, perhaps the best offensive line in the country. And that's why they have been so good running the football this year. Yes, Blake Corum, he was great, but you got to give a lot of credit to that offensive line. You look at Michigan, they're 5th in the country in rushing. They're 11th in sacks allowed, so they don't give up many sacks. And you flip that around to TCU, they're 77th in sacks. So looking at their defense, getting to the quarterback, 77th. Their run defense is 67th. That is a recipe for a disaster. And I think the biggest reason why Michigan will win this game, if they do, it's because of the offensive line. Their ability to run the football, protect J.J. McCarthy. It's going to be very tough for this TCU defense, which again has not been good at stopping the run or getting to the quarterback. So a big advantage for Michigan with this offensive line. And yes, I think the offensive line will be the biggest reason why they could win this game. Number 2, the pass rush. I just talked about how TCU doesn't really have a pass rush, not a great one. Well, Michigan does. Michigan is very good at getting to the quarterback. They're 24th nationally in sacks this year. They spread it around, though. I mean, a lot of guys, it's not like last year with Aiden Hutchinson and Ojabo, those guys that, those are game wreckers, but they can do it from across the board. This team has a lot of players with a lot of sacks this year, and it's the linebackers, it's the defensive linemen. They come at you from all over. Mike Morris, 7.5 sacks this year. He's been their leader in sacks. You also look at Michael Barrett, 3.5 sacks for him. But if you just look at their stats, Jalen Harrell, 3.5 sacks. Junior Colson, 2 sacks. Sainer still 2 sacks, and that's coming from the secondary. Chris Jenkins, 2 sacks. Just go down the list. They've got a lot of guys that can get after the quarterback. They can come at you from a bunch of different spots on the field, and that's going to be a big key, I think. Like I said, 24th in the country in sacks. TCU, 51st in sacks allowed. So they give up some sacks. And so I think, again, you look at the offensive line for Michigan, the pass rush for Michigan, huge advantages, and those are usually big factors in a big game like this. So give Michigan the advantage in both of those categories. And then also, I think you can look at third downs, red zone, turnovers. Those are usually a big factor in who's going to win one of these games as well. You look at Michigan, 17th in the country in converting on offense. Compared to TCU, they're 41st on defense. So they've been pretty solid getting off the field on defense, but 41st, not great. Michigan, very solid at 17th. And then you look at the other side of that, TCU is 53rd in the country in converting on third down. Michigan is 19th on defense and getting stops on third down. So advantage in both of those areas for Michigan. TCU is a team that likes to take a lot of big shots, so they get into some third and longs, and you get into third and long against this pass rush for Michigan, could be a long day. So another thing that definitely goes in favor of Michigan here is the third down battle. Both sides of the ball, clear advantage for the Wolverines. Number 4, that's the red zone. Just said, third downs, red zone. These are huge factors in a big game. And Michigan is also very good in the red zone. They're 5th in the country in converting in the red zone. On offense, compared to TCU's defense, they're 76th on defense. So they're not very good at stopping teams in the red zone, and Michigan is really good in the red zone. Now, I would say that Michigan has settled for a lot of field goals this year, so I think they need to be able to punch it into the end zone in this game. If they have to settle for a lot of field goals, then TCU, that's going to play into their hands, because TCU's I feel pretty confident they're going to be able to score some points in this game. So if they can hold Michigan to field goals, that'll obviously be huge. But then you look at the other side of this, TCU is not good in the red zone. On offense, they rank 80th in the country. Michigan's defense ranks 31st. And again, it's a lot of those big plays for TCU. They like to make big plays. They don't methodically go down the field. They're similar to Ohio State on offense, and we saw how that turned out in the game, of course. And so, again, red zone, third downs, big advantage for Michigan. Offensive line an advantage for Michigan. Pass rush an advantage for Michigan. Across the board, I mean, if you just look at the stats really favor Michigan in this game and would really indicate that this game might not be close at all. But I wouldn't go that far, because TCU, Max Duggan, the way they fought this year, don't count them out of this game. But we still got one more reason here. When we look at the psychological factors in this game, and I think experience will be huge for Michigan. We've seen it many times in all sports. A team will get to the postseason, but they won't really get very far. Maybe they lose in the first round. See it even in basketball. A team will make it for the first time in a long time, and they get knocked out in the first round. Then they come back the next year, and they make a deep run. So I think you could maybe look at this in football as well. Michigan has been there. They were there last year. They know what it's all about. They know what to expect. You're just talking about the practices, all the things that go on off the field to prepare for a playoff game. It's just different. They've been through that. They know what's going on. They're going to be, ready to go. Whereas TCU, this is their first time in the playoff. Those players maybe don't know what to expect as much. And it's a Michigan team that they're going to be favored in this game. Of course, they're not the underdogs, but the way they lost last year to Georgia, I think they're going to be really fired up for this game. And so I think they'll be ready. The experience from last year, I think, will definitely help them, and it could be a big factor in this game against a TCU team that's playing with no pressure. That's their advantage. If they can go out and play loose, yes, advantage TCU, but the experience of Michigan, having already played in the playoff before, and a lot of experienced guys on the roster, this Michigan team, that experience could be the difference. It could be one of the big reasons why they win this one.